Howdy, I'm Virginia Willis. I'm 46 years old. I'm a chef and food writer in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm ready to win on Food Fighters. So I know what makes good television, but I also know the animal, the home cook, my competition. I write my newspaper articles and magazines and books. I write it for them. And, you know, bless their heart, they may think they're gonna win, they may have a good time, we're gonna have a good time in the kitchen, but they are not going to beat me. My style of cooking is what I like to call refined Southern cuisine. You can hear that I talk slow, but don't you let that fool you. I'm French trained, well-educated, and a world traveler. I'm kind of like that cool Southern cousin you wish you had. I may sound sweet and Southern, but I've lived and worked in New York, I've lived and worked in DC, I've worked for Martha Stewart, Bobby Flay. To work for folks like that, you gotta be good at what you do. I'm really good at what I do. I am not gonna lose to a home cook. I'm gonna kick some butt in the kitchen. So I was supposed to be in France for 3 months, and I was in France for 3 years. My joke is that I got stuck in France. I felt like I was tasting food for the first time. So when I returned from France, I wanted to work for Martha Stewart. Well, there was another guy that had a show starting up on Lifetime, unknown sort of New York City chef, and his name was Bobby Flay. So I worked as the kitchen director for Bobby Flay when he had his show called The Main Ingredient on Lifetime. Now, what is a kitchen director? All of the cooking shows have to have someone in charge of the set. Everything from the salt that's by the counter to the baked potatoes coming out of the oven. So that was my job. Well, I was with Bobby for a couple of seasons, and then we went on hiatus. And you know what hiatus means in TV. That means practically the show's been canceled. So we went on hiatus, and through a fluke, I got my foot in the door at Martha Stewart. So I became her kitchen director and was responsible for all of the food on the show. Yeah, working for Martha Stewart is serious. She has no qualms about telling you that you have to be the best of the best of the best. In fact, one day at the bullpen meeting, she said, if you're not A+ and 100%, you don't belong here. So that's my mantra. That's what I think. That's what gives me the competitive edge, and that's what I try to bring to my life and my work every day. So in terms of me being able to cook many different things, yes, obviously I'm Southern and I'm French trained, but Nobu was a guest, and I learned Japanese food from Nobu. Mata Joffrey was a guest, and I learned Indian food from Mata Joffrey. Marcus Samuelson was a guest, and I learned his food from Aquavie. Bobby Flay was a guest, and I learned Southwestern food. So I feel like I'm really grounded in many, many, many different types of cuisine. After Martha Stewart, I went to Epicurious, which had a show called Epicurious on the Discovery Channel. I didn't know if I'd made the right decision leaving Martha Stewart. 1 month after I left Martha Stewart, the executive editor calls me into her office, and she's sending me on a trip to Italy to shoot field pieces. We shot limoncello and Amalfi, pasta in D'Abruzzi, pizza in Naples, sardines and anchovies in Sicily. I felt like I had won the food television lottery. It was amazing. I got to travel the whole entire world, learning and cooking and meeting chefs and tasting food. It was absolutely phenomenal. I love food television. I love the pressure. I love doing a great job. I love working with people. I'm ready to be in front of the camera. I'm ready to show America that I know all about food and cooking. And even though I'm not a restaurateur, I've got it. I've got this. Now I'm gonna make you hungry. I'm going to prepare a French Quarter spice rub crusted pork tenderloin, sweet potato grits, and a tangle of greens. That's right, I said sweet potato grits. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I have some coffee in this bowl. I'm gonna add some brown sugar, cayenne pepper, 5 spice powder, and salt. The next thing I'm going to do is I have a pork tenderloin. Now this is a wonderful cut of meat that is from the most tender part of the animal. It's below the loin. It's an excellent, excellent cut of meat. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle over my coffee, and I'm going to coat it on all sides, okay? And you know, a home cook might not know what to do with this cut of meat. I find in general that home cooks have a tendency to overcook things. So as a professional chef, I'm gonna have the leg up. So my pan is good and hot. I want to wait until the oil is sort of shimmery and wavy in the pan. And when that's hot and I put the tenderloin in, it's going to sizzle. So while my pan is heating up, I'm gonna get going on the greens. These are cut in chiffonade. That's a term that means ribbons, and it's a way to cook kale and collards and greens really quickly. We don't have to cook them for hours and hours with fat back. We're gonna make these nice and tasty. So I have a clove of garlic. I'm going to tap my knife. You know, I've thought about it. Over the years, working for the different people, I have developed hundreds, thousands of recipes for my books, for magazines. So I'm gonna chop that up. And then I can actually use my knife like a palette knife, and this is going to make the garlic be nice and fine. Now I know that that's going to allow the garlic to permeate the flavor of a dish. A home cook might not know to do that. All right, so my pan is nice and hot for my pork, and I'm going to put it in. That's the sound you want to hear when you're cooking. That's the sound you want to hear when you put meat into a pan. All right, and then now for my greens, what I'm going to do is put some oil in the pan. Got smoking hot, smoking hot. And I'm going to add, you see how that's going to sort of snap, crackle, pop? And we want to toss the greens, yep, and they're going to wilt just slightly. And this is going to take just a couple minutes. And as the greens cook down, then I'm going to add the garlic, because if I added the garlic too soon, the garlic would burn. That might be something else a home cook might not know. So I've got a nice crust. See that beautiful crust? All right, I'm going to turn it over. I've got my oven preheated to 350. So we're going to crust this on all sides, and then I'm going to pop it in. So let me show you these. These are my grits. And when I say these are my grits, I mean these are my grits. I have a product line called My Southern Pantry, and these are certified organic heirloom grits from one of the oldest organic farms in Georgia. People think they don't like grits. You don't like these grits. What am I going to do different from them is I have sweet potato. So I have this roasted sweet potato. You're thinking, sweet potato and grits? You know what? I thought the same thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the sweet potato and sort of mash it up and mash it all together until they're perfectly creamy. And these don't have cream or butter. This is literally, seriously, it's been cooked with low-fat milk and water, because I want the flavor of the corn to shine through. I want the natural flavors to shine through. You know what? Southern food is more than fried chicken and fat back. All right, so this is nicely crusted on all sides. We've got some dark happening, but that's okay. That's just the brown sugar. And now I'm going to go pop it in the oven. So check these out. These have wilted just slightly. I've got some nice char going on. Now I'm using canola oil. Canola oil, it's a flavorless oil that has a high smoke point. That means it'll take a lot of heat. There's a misperception in the South that everything starts with a stick of butter, and that's just not true. All right, so here I have my greens, and I'm going to add the garlic. So you add the garlic at the very end so it won't burn. There is nothing worse than the taste of garlic. Well, there's something worse than the taste of garlic, but there's nothing worse for your dish than the taste of garlic. All right, so we put that all together. And then now to finish it, doesn't that look delicious? Now to finish it, I'm going to season with just a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. You have to season as you go. You have to taste and adjust for seasoning as you go. That goes for your dishes, and frankly, that goes for your life. So my greens are ready. My pork's in the oven. Let's check on these sweet potato grits one more time. Taste and adjust for seasoning with those. These look good. You just don't think you like grits. This is an official grits converter. You're gonna like these grits. Wow, you are not gonna believe how good this smells. Oh my God, that coffee, that brown sugar, that's gonna smell great. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it out, we're gonna let it rest, and I'm gonna make you a plate. Resting is gonna allow the juices to redistribute. Gonna make it nice and juicy. The first thing, look at that, look at those grits. I love grits. Grits, girls raised in the South. That's what a grit is, girls raised in the South. And here I have some collard greens, nicely, quickly cooked and charred. Little tangle, get a tangle going on there. All right, this is serious, we got food in our hands. So now that the pork tenderloin has rested just a bit, I feel like it's nice and rare, medium rare. You want a little pink in there. A lot of home cooks might overcook that. So here we go, delicious. Look how juicy that is. Oh man, it smells so good. I love cooking, I love cooking. I have produced thousands of cooking segments. I've written thousands of recipes. My cookbooks are award-winning. I'm nominated for Cooking School Teacher of the Year. I'm a television professional. There is no way a home cook is gonna beat me. I've got what it takes to help you make your show a success. You're gonna like me and you're gonna love my food. Bon appetit, y'all.